I went down there for the bell and the manifest and whatever copper I could lift. I brought a lantern, a stick of chalk, a coil of line, and a pry bar I trusted. That's it. No nonsense. I told myself I'd be in and out before the tide changed. No hero work. Just a clean pull. I dropped through the hatch and let my boots find the rung by feel. The air felt heavy and wet, old oil and rot. The lantern threw a soft bowl of light and made the metal sweat shine. I tied my line to the ladder rail and paid it out behind me, 1 arm's length at a time. I marked the door frame with a quick chalk cross. I made a second mark on the deck. I like knowing my way back. I kept it slow, 1 bay at a time. Crates, barrels, rigging stacked in a slump. The ship had gone quiet under me. No wind, just the hull's little groans. I told myself, say it out loud, hold, forward bay, first pass. That kept my head straight. I did that on other jobs. I do it when I haven't slept. I heard a drip and took another step. Another drip right after, same spacing as my steps. I stopped. The drip stopped. I took 1 slow step and the drip answered it. I breathed through my mouth. Condensation. Fine. I touched a plank to show myself it was real, and it was slick and cold. My fingers came back shiny. Tar. I wiped them on my pants and the smear sat there like it wanted to stay. I looked at my chalk cross on the door. I'd drawn the top of it a little long, habit. I moved 20 feet, checked a roll of canvas, and looked back. The cross wasn't mine anymore. Same place, same chalk, but the long top bit had changed sides. I rubbed my thumb across it. Fresh dust came away on my skin. I said, no, it's my mark. I made a second cross beside it, big and ugly. I walked on. I heard a low hum. Not the ship. A work song, the kind men do without thinking. Just the bones of it. No words. That humming you do at the winch when you're too tired to sing. It seemed like it came from under my feet and also from the bulkhead. I answered it before I knew I was doing it. 1 line. Low. It felt stupid. It made the hair stand on my arm anyway. I set the coil of line on a hook and tied off a simple stopper knot. The same knot I always do. Easy to see in bad light. I turned away and counted 6 nails on a beam to steady myself. When I looked back, the line sat different. The knot had 2 turns through instead of 1, and the tail lay the other direction. I put my hand on it. It was tight. I didn't like the feeling in my mouth. I undid it and left the line hanging. As I turned, it was tied again. I watched the rope ends settle like someone had just let them go. No one there. The hum went on. I found the first crate with a number chalked big on it. 14. A little circle under the 4. I brushed it. Dry. I wrote a quick V next to it. Just for me, not part of their count. I went 2 aisles down, and when I came back the 14 had become 17, and there was no circle. My V was still there, but sloppy now, like a child had done it. I checked the boards under it. Fresh, wet footprints led past the crate. 1 set, bare feet, the size of a man. The edges glistened like they had just been set down. I crouched and watched them. The wet went dull as I watched, then went to nothing. Dry wood again. The next set appeared 3 planks ahead of me. They looked new. They faded. I rubbed my eyes with my wrist and smelled tar again. The pry bar handle had a black smear on it. I don't know when it got there. I found the logbook in a caved-in desk at the far bulkhead. Its leather had swelled and cracked. I opened it anyway. The page fell open in the middle and the ink on the line there gleamed. Fresh. My lantern made it shine. I read the line under my breath. Watch set. Hold men 6. The words ran a little, like the pen had trembled. A dot formed at the end of the sentence while I looked at it, neat and wet. I shut the book and said, "No, we're not doing that." I put the book in my bag anyway. Money is money. My lantern guttered then. Came back. Guttered again in the same spot when I moved forward 3 boards. I went back and forth to be sure. Same plank, same sputter, like the flame didn't like passing over that place. I tried lighting it brighter. It still dipped. I marked the spot with chalk. When I turned away, the chalk mark was gone. When I bent to remark it, the lamp dipped again, and I saw a set of wet toes print the plank just to my right. They dried as I watched. I said, "Not mine," though they were facing the same way I was and matched my stride. I tried the aft door. The latch stuck, then gave. Inside was a tight room with spare blocks and coils and a tank for fresh water. I tested the door 3 times, open and close. On the 4th, it stuck open and wouldn't close at all. Fine. I tied it with my line. I turned to check the tank. A cough came from above, like someone clearing his throat to spit. I looked up. Nothing up there but a beam and a missing plank to the next deck. When I looked back, the door swung free and the line lay in a neat coil at my feet, tied with 2 tidy knots I wouldn't have wasted time on in a storm. The humming got bigger then, more voices. No words. Not happy or sad, just working. I did another pass. I spoke to myself so I didn't feel alone. Bow. Port. Count. Check. The drips matched me again. Step. Drip. Step. Drip. I stopped, and the drip went on once more. Late. And then it stopped too. I put my hand on the deck to feel if water was coming up. Dry. Just the shine of old oil. My palm came away black. The tar smear on my bar had grown. I wiped it and it smeared thinner, over more metal. Great. I put it in my belt anyway. I found a small bell mounted on a stanchion near the mid-bay, one of the little watch bells for the hold crew. It was strange to see one down there. It had a corroded clapper and a hemp pull. I touched it. The metal was cold and gummy. I didn't ring it. I didn't like the idea of telling anything where I was. Then the ship's bell tolled. Not the hold one, the big one. It didn't come down the ladder well. It came from behind a stack of tea chests. It came from inside my teeth. It was wrong. It was off time. Too close. A pause. Then one. Then a long silence that made my jaw ache. I said, "No," and got my hand on the pry bar because I didn't know what else to do. The hum quit at that first wrong double hit. In the quiet, I heard the drip answer my last 2 steps. Then the lantern sputtered hard and went skinny, and I lifted it and shook it and it came back. In the thin light, I saw them. They were at their spots. A man at the winch. One on a hatchboard. One with a tally slate. One down on his knees with a hook. They were soaked through like they had just rolled in surf and stood up again. Their clothes hung heavy. Water ran off them but didn't splash. It slid and sank back into the boards like the deck was a lung. None of them moved. The hum was still there, but I could see their mouths and none of them were open. It seemed to come out of their chests. The lantern hiccuped and the light made silver lines across their faces where salt had dried. No eyes, but not empty either. Full of the room instead. They were working without moving. My chest tightened. The bell tolled wrong again and they all looked up at once. Not slow. Just up. At me. The tally man raised his hand like he wanted to tell me something, and his fingers left wet marks in the air for a second, like you see with your eyes when you stare at a bright thing too long. They dried out of the air the way the footprints dried. I didn't run. I couldn't. My knees wouldn't hear it. I said, "What do you want?" Which was a stupid thing to say. The humming swelled to an answer I didn't understand. It sounded like work. It sounded like men trying to keep a rhythm and losing it. I've been the only man left awake on watch at 3 in the morning enough times to know when a thing wants a bell to tell it what to do. You fall into the bell. Your body just goes. You haul on the line at the same pace the last guy did, and time slips by, and then it's you and you don't know how to stop. That's why they set bells. That's how a ship moves through dark. I understood that. I hated that I understood it. The wrong bell was telling them to look at me, and I didn't want that. I backed away and my boot found that same plank that made the lantern dip. It dipped. The hum went thin. I thought, you break their time and you break their hold. I grabbed the small bell on the stanchion with my left hand and the bar with my right. I told myself, ring against it. The big bell hit too, and I hit one wrong and hard, not matching it. I wanted to cough. The sound went through me and made the back of my eyes itch. The men twitched like you see birds twitch at a stone thrown wrong. I rang again. The big wrong bell took a long rest. I rang 3 close ones. The tallyman's head cocked like he didn't like the math. I needed weight. If I could make them heavy, they couldn't turn to me. I needed water. The lower gear room had a gate for the bilge. Not a proper valve, just a lever with slats under it. It wasn't made to be used under load, but these ships were old and my bar was strong. I told myself, make it heavy. Drown the hold. I moved for it, and every step I took left my own wet prints. I saw that. Fresh. Mine. But they didn't dry. They stayed. The hum split into parts, some following me, some staying with the men. I tripped on a coil that had not been there and fell forward and jammed my shoulder. The tar on the bar went to my jacket and it stuck my sleeve to my ribs. I said a word I don't teach polite people and went on. I found the lever and drove the pry bar in behind it and leaned. It moaned like an animal. The first slat came up and water came through black and fast, so cold that my bones told me it was wrong water, not ours. It tasted like the bottom of an iron kettle. I pulled again, and the next slat gave and the water knifed up harder, around my boot, into my boot, up my leg. I rang the bell between pulls. Ring. Pull. Ring. Pull. I got the lever most of the way, and it stopped, and the bar bit my palm, and my hand stung from a cut I didn't remember getting. I tasted copper, but there was no time to look. The small bell's rope came off the clapper and hit me in the cheek, and I took the bar and slammed the bell itself, and it made a flat iron shout that I felt more than heard. The big wrong bell tried to answer, and I hit again and again, off time, fast, then slow, then fast. I wanted them messy. I wanted them to lose the count. The men in the light jerked to the sound like fish pulled by lines they couldn't bite through. The one on his knees tried to stand, and it looked like the water pinned his pants to the deckboards. The tally man clawed at his slate, and his fingers left tar instead of chalk. It smeared like my pry bar, and then it was on his hand all the way, and he shook it like it was hot. The hum turned into something like a cough. The water took the bay in a rush. It lifted a barrel and rolled it. It hit my knees and made me cold from the bones outward. It smelled like old fish and anti-foul and fire. I almost lost the bar. I hit the bell with my palm and felt the skin go. I grabbed the clapper and yanked it with my bleeding hand. My ears gave. It felt like someone had put a spoon into each ear and twisted. I said, "Keep moving," but I didn't hear my own voice. The world went to a deep push. No fine sounds. Only the bell and the water. The lantern toppled and went out and came back at half and sputtered and then went out for good. In the dark, the bell was a shape in my hands, and the men were a pressure around me like you feel when someone stands behind you at a window, and you know if you turn you'll see nothing or too much. I kicked my way to the ladder well by memory, and by the line I thought I had tied. My fingers slid along the rail and found nothing. The line I had tied was gone, or I couldn't feel it. I found the ladder anyway by hitting it with my shin. I went up 2 rungs, and the water hit me in the back hard enough to punch the air out of me. It tasted like rust and diesel, and it burned. It burned all the way down and up again. I coughed, and salt sprayed out my nose, and the burn came worse. My eyes watered and then didn't. The cold made everything thin. Something tugged my belt. A rope end caught it, or a hand. I didn't look. I lifted my foot and stamped at it and felt it go. I got another rung. The big bell hit once more, wrong as ever, from right next to my head, inside the ladder maybe, I don't know. I cracked the side of my skull on the hatch edge and saw light for a second in a field of black. I had never felt that lost in a space I had mapped myself. I got out. I remember the night air and the sky all pressed down with no stars. I remember the salvage skiff jerking at her line at the rail, and then that line went slack, and then tight the wrong way, like something under the ship had taken it around a thing I couldn't see. I had a knife and cut it. The knife fell. My hands didn't have sense. The skiff spun on the next swell and slid away, and I saw her little lantern hurry off back end first and then roll out. I didn't hear it hit the water. Maybe it didn't. Maybe my ears had gone by then. I don't remember going over. I remember cold up to my ribs again and my boots trying to pull me down. I got a hand on a hanging tire and held, and the ship under me hummed a few more beats of that work song and then went quiet like a shop shutting at night. The water found a level and stopped pulling so hard, and I breathed around the burn. I kept a grip. I found the ladder again with my arm and dragged myself up a rung at a time. No one came. It was me and the metal. I sat on the deck and hawked seawater and oil and something black and sour. My ears rang like I had been inside a bell tower. I turned my head and felt sticky. I touched it and my hand came away with a little blood and a lot of tar. I didn't stay to count. I didn't go back for the log. It was in the bag at my side and the bag stank of the hold. I left my bar. It was probably stuck there by now, the way that stuff got on. By the time a harbor boat saw my light and came, Dawn was pretending to think about it. I couldn't hear their engine when it came. I saw their light bob, and then I saw hands, and then I woke on a bench with a blanket that smelled like a mop. They spoke and I read their mouths. What happened? They said. My throat hurt, so I couldn't give them the whole thing. I said. I countered their bell and flooded them. That's all. Their faces asked for more. I didn't have more to give. I don't know what I did to them. Maybe I pinned them back to their jobs. Maybe I drowned them twice. I don't know. I know I ruined my hearing. My lungs feel like I breathed a match. I lost my boat. I lost my bar. They told me later the ship I went aboard looked the same after, and no one heard a bell from her deck the rest of that night. Good for them. I still hear one. It's off time. It rings from inside my head. 2 close. A pause. Then 1. Then the long part where I wait for the next, whether I want to or not. Every story has a price. For this one, it's simple. A like and a subscribe. That's how we keep the ritual going. Miss a step, and the next upload might not find you. See you in the next one.